Okay, fifth and seventh. Admittedly, this is kind of a weird way of doing our vlogs for today. It's a co-teacher vlog. I tried to zoom into the board as best I could since you're going to be getting some PowerPoint notes. I'm going to be on and off the screen doing some pausing stuff, and I'll post this up for you so you can actually access it at any point. Doing some stuff on the board, which is why I zoomed into the board with how I'm recording right now. I have a dentist appointment this afternoon, so I am not going to be in class. I am co-teaching with our guest teacher in the room right now. I fully assume that our guest teacher is capable. Please be respectful. If you have not heard, I have been informed that we will not have school on Wednesday, so we do want to make sure we're using our time when we are in class as effectively as possible. I've been telling you I would get some new seats. I have them done. I have your quizzes graded. Your quizzes were pretty good, and I'll get all that stuff back to you Thursday, it looks like, because obviously with me not being here today, and you guys oftentimes try to argue about new seats when we get new teams, not going to deal with that when I'm not in class, except for digitally like this. So obviously that's something that's going to hold off until Thursday. Please remember to stay warm, remember to be respectful. I know it can be chilly in the classroom. I kicked the heater on, but it doesn't seem to be making a big difference. So if you do need to have your hood up in class, I am going to make a temporary exception to that for today only. As long as you can be respectful and sitting up, not putting our face down on the desk, then that's going to be okay. I do want to reference our objective for today. Of course, it's on our objective board. I can review and better understand the greenhouse effect and how humans use natural resources in an environment. We're going to be reviewing our infographics from last week. 7th hour, I'm not sure. I lost yours. I don't know if I didn't save it right, if it's just my weird crashing computer. Something went wrong where that didn't come up. So we're all going to look at the 5th hour one. It's equally adequate to the one from 7th. I do apologize that I have that error. And then we're going to be examining the greenhouse effect in a little more depth, taking a look at a note sheet and a question and answer sheet that will be handed out at a section later on in the period. So for starters, I want to pull up our review of the advanced greenhouse effect that we discussed last Friday. Especially since in both classes we only had some part of the group that was at board and a lot of the group that was at bricks. And so we do want to go ahead and review that video together and then take a look at our infographic. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, and then you'll be seeing that play in just a second.
Take Earth. It spins in space on an axial tilt between 21.1 degrees and 24.5 degrees. It's surrounded by a mixture of gases known as the atmosphere, 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% other gases such as argon, methane, and ozone. The atmosphere itself is divided into layers according to major changes in altitude and temperature, but all you need to know for now is that the troposphere is the layer closest to the Earth's surface, and that's where all of the following occurs. Also in space is the Sun, 150 million kilometers away. It emits shortwave UV radiation that passes through the Earth's atmosphere, and about 51% is absorbed by land or sea. Some of the radiation that reaches Earth is reflected back into space as long-wave infrared radiation, but the mixture of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere can absorb the long-wave infrared radiation and re-emit it back towards the Earth again, effectively trapping it. This is known as the greenhouse effect, a completely natural process of heat balance that's essential for life on Earth. Without it, things would be around 30 degrees Celsius cooler. The enhanced greenhouse effect is when this natural balance process becomes altered, such as by human activity. By releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, the greenhouse effect is made greater. Less long-wave infrared radiation can escape into space, and more is absorbed by the greenhouse gases, warming the atmosphere and re-emitting it back towards Earth again. So that's the enhanced greenhouse effect, and it's the consequences of this that's known as global climate change.
Okay, that led us to creating this enhanced greenhouse effect infographic during class on Friday. It's a little cut off, doesn't say enhanced greenhouse effect across the top right now, but that's okay. Here's our atmosphere as discussed in the video. Our Earth, once again, I apologize, 7th hour, I know we had that well-drawn Earth on here. The sun beats down, brings heat in through the atmosphere. The atmosphere, remember we kind of talked about how it's like a screen on a window. I'll bring up that tent example I made reference to in just a second and draw a picture over that. Some heat gets released, and so the atmosphere contains some heat. It's right here. Greenhouse gases actually increase. So as we increase greenhouse gases, more heat gets retained. That's like that example we talked about of a blanket getting thrown over a tent. I'll leave this up here for just a second in case you want to go ahead and write anything down from that while I find our tent picture. Okay, so we're going to change this out. Got a tent picture right here. This is actually my real life tent that I go camping in. I mentioned that I would bring up a picture of this. I know we have a little bit of glare, so I do apologize for that. But you can kind of see it. There's a screen door here. Clearly the wind passes easily through there. There is a screen on top, but we have this tarp. You can see there's a line here. This is the rain fly going over the top. This is like the natural atmosphere of Earth. It contains some heat. It lets some heat in and contains some of that heat that might go out. Now we talked about in class, if I throw a blanket over the top of this, what might we think would happen then? Where's my bucket? Okay, now we have a blanket over the top of the tent. How is this going to affect the way that heat is retained? Oh, shoot, just froze. Okay, so blanket retains more heat. This is similar to the enhanced greenhouse effect. I know it says enhanced greenhouse F, but we're going to go ahead and pretend it says effect for the sake of time as I'm trying to get this co-teacher vlog posted for you guys. So just imagine that it actually says the full word, and I'm going to be bringing up our notes that we're taking a look at today. While those notes are coming up, your guest teacher is going to be handing out the little bitty sheets. They look just like this right here. So you're going to have a little bitty sheet just like this. It has 7 questions. It has 9 blanks. That one's, oh no, it's upside down. I thought it was upside down. Do make sure to put your name on them. You're going to be putting these in the turn-in bin when you're done with them. So this is going to be something that we're going to be working on in class. You may discuss with a partner if necessary. The animation in the middle of the notes, like I said, will play twice. All of these questions go in this order in the animation. So these are being handed out right now. There's our 10th example of enhanced greenhouse effect. Notes will be coming up momentarily. Okay, so here we go with our notes on the greenhouse effect. You can see, first off, we're going to be taking a look at some questions. We did, in fact, answer these last week. This is your partner activity, the half sheets that looked like this. Science. So these were our half sheets from last Friday. Partner A had half the answers, partner B had half the answers. You had to ask and answer. These are the same questions that we looked at on there. So I'm going to kind of breeze through these because they should be relatively simple. What do fossil fuels contain? Fossil fuels contain carbon from plants and animals that died millions of years ago. What happens when we burn fossil fuels? When we burn fossil fuels, carbon dioxide is produced. What does a greenhouse gas do? A greenhouse gas traps heat in the Earth's atmosphere. Again, you did these with a partner last week. These should be answers you had. What happens when more and more greenhouse gases go into the atmosphere? It lets the sun's light in, but doesn't let all the heat produced by the sunlight back out again. That's just like that blanket example that we just looked at with the tent. What happens when the Earth gets warmer? And so when the Earth gets warmer, there are changes in the weather and sea levels rise. We are, in fact, seeing that right now. Some people think that global warming is a hoax simply because we're having longer winters. But the winter that we're actually having right now is an effect of greenhouse gases, is an effect of global warming. Because it's so warm, we get temperature extremes. So that's where we get the cold here in the wintertime. moving forward. Okay, we did this part, asked questions with your partner. You discussed that last week, so now we're going to go ahead and watch the animation and do exercise 2 on the worksheet, complete the gaps. And so complete the gaps is in fact what it says on your sheet. You're going to be filling in those 9 answers. I'm going to play this twice over. That does not mean sleep through it the first time or talk through it the first time. It's because with 9 answers going very quickly, you might need it to be played twice.
Fossil fuels such as oil and gas contain carbon from plants and animals that died millions of years ago. When we burn fossil fuels, the carbon reacts with oxygen in the air to make carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, carbon dioxide is what we call a greenhouse gas. This means that it acts like a blanket that traps heat in the Earth's atmosphere. It does this by letting the sun's light in, but not letting all of the heat produced by the sunlight back out again. Normally this is a good thing, as we want the Earth to be nice and warm. But as more and more carbon dioxide goes into the atmosphere, we begin to trap more heat, and the Earth gets warmer and warmer. This triggers changes in the weather and causes sea levels to rise.
Okay, go ahead and consider what you just learned. We're going to play it once more, and then you'll take a couple minutes where you can actually discuss with partners.
Fossil fuels such as oil and gas contain carbon from plants and animals that died millions of years ago. When we burn fossil fuels, the carbon reacts with oxygen in the air to make carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, carbon dioxide is what we call a greenhouse gas. This means that it acts like a blanket that traps heat in the Earth's atmosphere. It does this by letting the sun's light in, but not letting all of the heat produced by the sunlight back out again. Normally this is a good thing, as we want the Earth to be nice and warm. But as more and more carbon dioxide goes into the atmosphere, we begin to trap more heat, and the Earth gets warmer and warmer. This triggers changes in the weather and causes sea levels to rise.
Okay, take a couple minutes to discuss that with your table. Make sure you have all the answers. So we can go ahead and pause it there if necessary. Whoever's directing our video right now, go ahead and pause. Okay, and we're going to share out through oral commentary what we saw in the animation. We're working in groups, so you're each completing an individual sheet. We'll go ahead and share out what you learned from this animation as a class. Give you a second for that. Hopefully you're able to get all the information that would be in there. And then your exit ticket for today, we're not quite to, but it is on the demonstration board. You'll do that on the back of that half sheet. What are the positive and negative effects of global warming? The last thing that I want to do is take a look at the quiz from last week. As a group, you did very well on this quiz. I have no complaints, really. A few people I'm a little concerned. If you have not yet done it, you'll have a chance for makeup. But I do want to take a look at it. Consumption of resources was 5 points on the front. Examples of natural resources are going to be things that actually come from nature. So I'm not giving away the answers just because I know some people maybe haven't finished this yet. Which list shows the natural resources that are non-renewable? Once we use them, they'll be used up. It's going to be things that cannot happen on a quick basis. Number 3 looks at human population. Human population we know is rising, so increasing. Demand for natural resources, based on that increase, what would we think would happen? And our choices were, of course, that it would increase by 50%, or decrease. And so hopefully you can kind of extrapolate what the correct answer would be there. And then reasons that people use natural resources to generate electricity, to build buildings or houses, as food or fuel for our bodies, or all of the above. Again, that should be one that hopefully is pretty clear for people. So kind of just leaving that at that. We did read through the Shasta Dam article together. The CER should have been the easiest one you've done in my class so far because the prompts were very clear. One natural resource that humans are using more of, you had to make sure it was a natural resource mentioned in the article. There's only one natural resource mentioned. According to the text above, we're using more of this resource because there were 2 reasons given why we were using more of this resource. And you had to have both reasons to get your full 5 points. Using more of this natural resource over time will affect, you had to say not just the environment, which a lot of people said, but give a more specific thing that it actually is affecting within the environment. So that was kind of a tricky question for some people as well. But so that's kind of how that one goes. Hopefully all of that makes some sense. I realize that this co-teach vlog is only 15 minutes, but the activities you did in class today actually take more time than that. Also, one last thing that I do want to show. We have one more video that's going to pull up right here in just a second that is related to this natural resource stuff. So I'm going to play that for you as well. But again, if you need to go back on this, if you need to replay something, please just let our guest teacher know. I'm sure she'd be happy to help you out. Or if it's one of you guys, bring it up on the Chromebook. Let your partner know so that you can go ahead and try to get that work completed.
Did you know that gases in our atmosphere help control the Earth's temperature? Greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide, trap heat in the atmosphere and keep the Earth warm. This is called the greenhouse effect. It all starts with sunlight, which is a form of energy. Land and water absorb most of the sunlight that reaches the Earth. The rest is reflected back to space. The Earth's surface warms up, then gives off energy in a different form, called infrared radiation. This energy travels back towards outer space. Greenhouse gases trap some of this energy in the atmosphere before it can escape, making the Earth warmer. We need some greenhouse gases. Without them, our planet would be too cold for plants and animals to live. But people are adding extra carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. Whenever we drive a car, use electricity, or make a product in a factory, we use energy. A lot of this energy comes from burning fossil fuels, like oil, gas, and coal, which produces carbon dioxide. How do you think extra greenhouse gases affect the amount of heat trapped in the Earth's atmosphere?
Okay, so there's a question there. How do you think the excess heat affects the atmosphere?
You guessed it. Extra greenhouse gases trap more heat, which makes the whole planet warmer. And warmer temperatures lead to effects like changing rain and snow patterns, rising sea level, melting glaciers and ice sheets, and much more. It's a big problem. And it's all happening because we are overloading the atmosphere with greenhouse gases. By making the greenhouse effect stronger, we're upsetting the Earth's natural balance and warming our planet. And it's a big problem. Melting glaciers, like changing rain and snow patterns.
Okay, I do want to point out here, it mentions the warmer temperatures lead to effects like changing rain and snow patterns. Commonly, the argument against global warming is like, oh, well, look outside. And certainly, if you look outside right now, our window, that we're just covered in snow. But that warmer temperatures leading to effects like changing rain and snow patterns. We should not be having this crazy polar vortex. We also should not be having crazy hot summers. There should be a little less fluctuation in our weather over the course of a year. Not to mention just over the course of a winter. December, it did not snow at all. And now in January, we're getting buried. And so it's kind of crazy. We got buried in November too, right after Thanksgiving. You'll remember we had an extra day off, a snow day. So that is how this is affecting things. And that kind of leads to some of the answers you could discuss with your table about the greenhouse effect. So if you have not completed that sheet, make sure you're taking a look at that. There is an exit slip, and then one final question that I want you to consider that I'm going to bring up here right now. Okay, so kind of a prompt, almost essay forward. Based on what we have learned so far, what are some ways human use of natural resources are affecting the environment? Are these efforts positive, negative, neutral, so no change, or a mix of these? Explain. So whatever argument you make, Give some examples of things that humans are doing with natural resources and how it's affecting the environment. That's part one. Decide if it is positive, negative, neutral, or a mix, and then explain why your answer is what it is. That's what we're working on today. I will go ahead and see you guys on Thursday. Make sure you finish up this activity. Do not forget about your exit ticket with the positive and negative effects of global warming. That is different than the essay question up here now. And I hope that you had a good period. I will see you guys on Thursday.